My name is Mohammed Yahya. And again, this is an IBM Cognos BI training, right? As far as today's session is concerned, today is mainly an agenda, mainly a session to talk about what BI is, basic introduction, and then the main important thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the demo. So as far as the agenda is concerned, first thing we're going to talk about is kind of give you a background of how data is getting generated, right? Then we will talk about what is business intelligence and data warehouse, why do we need to do analysis and things like that. And so again, I'm going to keep it as short as possible, because the main objective of today's session is to show you how Cognos looks and kind of give you a feel of whether or how easy it would be or how difficult it would be, right? So let's get started. Again, these are very old slides, and few of the numbers are more old. But again, just to give you a glimpse of what I'm talking about, if forget the whole world, just in America, right? There is a birth in every 7 seconds, right? There is a death in every 13 seconds, so on and so forth. We all know that in America, in the US, birth means that you get an SSN assigned to a person, right? That means it's a database entry, right? Someone creates a database entry that, okay, John born yesterday, and his social security number is this, right? Abdul was born 2 days back, and his social security number is this, right? Plus, so social security is just one record, right? So every 7 seconds, one record is getting generated, right? On top of it, imagine the medical record which goes along with that child, right? So if the child is premature, then we knows what is going on, right? If it's a normal child, then we know what's going on, right? So we are keeping track of each and every information in some form and in some system. In terms of retail, just to give you an idea, Walmart serves more than 200 million customers per week. Again, these are some old stats, right? But again, just to give you an idea, every week, if one customer buys just one item, how many of us goes to Walmart and just buy one item? No one's, right? We pretty much, when we go to Walmart, we come out with a cart full of things, right? But just for the sake of argument, if we say that if every person who goes to Walmart buys one item and one item only, every week Walmart is generating at least 200 million records, right? Just multiply that with the amount of items you're buying, and you'll have an idea of how many transactions Walmart is generating every week, right? Same thing with Facebook, same thing with Twitter. I don't have to go through the whole thing in terms of how the data is getting generated. Now with that data being generated, business wants to find out what is happening, right? How are we doing? Why are we doing what we are doing? And what should we be doing? In a sense that, for example, if you ran a campaign last Thanksgiving, let's say buy one get one free, right? And 2 years back, you ran another campaign for 50% off. In essence, both are more or less, in a ballpark, they are right. So if I say that 50% off or buy one get one free, those are more or less similar deals, or they fall under more or less a ballpark similar type of deals we offer, right? But what business wants to find out if they offer what attracts more customers, 50% off or buy one get one free, right? So these are the things they want to find out and see what works, what doesn't work. If something doesn't work, they want to find out why it is not working. If something works, they want to find out why it is working, so that they'll make sure that next time around they do the same thing because they have a proven practice that this thing works, right? So now so along the same line, how do they accomplish that? They use Cognos. I mean, Cognos is one of the tools which business use, right? Cognos is a business intelligence tools that enables users to extract the data, right? Uh, Give them analysis capabilities, right? So that they'll be able to look that data and make efficient decisions, right? So for example, if for example, nowadays, right, everyone is going through tax filings and things like that, right? Just imagine that you have all the transactions you have done in 2015 in a database categorized I mean, bucketed in the categories. So for example, these are tax exempt, these are taxable categories, for example, or these many expenses you have done on the business, these many expenses you have done on the personal side, these many meals. All you have to do is run a Cognos report and give that file to your CPA to file a tax for you, right? That becomes so easy, right? For example, Walmart wants to find out, for example, how many breads they should stock, right? In real life, each person lives the same day over and over again. So for example, usually what happens is that if you have a schedule that every Sunday you go to a Walmart and you buy bread and butter, pretty much the same deal, you'll go every week and you buy bread, butter, milk, whatever you buy, right? If you go every 2 weeks, then you go every 2 weeks. So pretty much Walmart or the Target, Albertsons, those type of retailers, they have a very good idea in terms of how much inventory they should stock so that there is minimal waste and they maximize revenue, right? So again, from this class expectations, right? What are the prerequisites? From technical side, if you know databases, that's gonna be a plus, but that's not a prerequisite. That's not a must-have. If you know it, it's good. If you don't know it, it's okay. So as far as prerequisites are concerned, there are no prerequisites from academic perspective, right? You don't if you know SQL, it's better. If you don't know SQL, it's okay. But again, you need to have there is a psychological prerequisite that you have to be in the position that okay, you are gonna practice and you're gonna practice, right? The tool itself is very easy, and in a minute when I show you, you'll see that it's very easy. But there are a lot of places where you have to go and click this and click that. If you forget or if you don't practice, you'll forget where you're gonna go, where you'll click. So you have to do a lot of practice. Again, as part of this class, we will give you Cognos Access, right? So we'll provide you the portal where you can log in and do the practice, right? We'll give you lots of hands-on workshops. So we'll give you documents which will say, okay, build bank account statement, right? Or build balance sheet, right? Or build, for example, profit and loss statement and things like that, right? And you'll build those reports for your practice, right? There are, so we'll have workshops for you, and then we will give you some complex practice reports. The difference between workshops and practice reports is that workshops will have instructions in a sense that, okay, step 1, do this thing. Step 2, click on this button. Step 3, drag and drop this column, things like that, right? With practice reports, we will not give you any instructions. All we do is we will send you a PDF and say, go build this report, right? And hopefully, I mean, you will have you'll be mentally at a place where by just looking at a PDF, you'll be able to recognize and you'll be able to build that report. Again, we'll be giving you a lot of pointers where you will go and explore. So for example, after a concept, I'll say, okay, there is another thing you have to do, and you go figure it out, right? And in the next class, if you have questions, we'll talk about it. And also we'll help you in interview preparation, resume preparation, things like that, right? So far, any questions before I jump into demo?
Any questions? Looks like no one has any questions.
Perfect. Cool. All right, so let me jump into demo. And I just mute everyone, I think. Cool. All right. So again, reporting side of Cognos is a web-based application, right? All you need to do is log into a URL, open the browser, log into URL. We will provide you your login IDs and password, right? So for example, all I'm going to do is I'm going to log in with my user ID. Right? And this is the main welcome screen. Usually, what I do is when I come here, I say, don't show me this in future, and I click on IBM Cognos content, right? So, for example, if you look at this screen, this pretty much looks like any web-based file management tool, right? So there are folders, there are some weird icon things, and then so on and so forth, right? For example, if I go inside my samples folder and I go inside models, and let's say, for example, Cognos Workspace samples. And again, this is a sample, or this is a demo I'm showing you for an interactive part, right? Which, for example, C-levels use, or so you will learn how to build these widgets. So, for example, each chart, each section in there. So, for example, you will learn how to build this. You will not be using this tool as such, but you will basically build this section which someone will drag and drop into the section. This section is called Workspace Advanced, right? And I just want to highlight some capability of this tool, why people love Cognos and everything around it, right? So for example, if I'm a user of this tool, right, if I'm a user of this dashboard, right, and I'm looking at this chart which shows me, for example, the number of sales rep in a region, right, by year, right? If I don't like this bluish color, right, all I have to do is simply click this chart area, right, and there is an option to change color. By the way, this is a consumer level capability. You don't have to be, from as far as Cognos is concerned, you don't have to be a professional developer to do all that, right? All you have to do is select this, and there are pre-built color schemes for you, right? So for example, if I click on dynamic, it will show me a different color. Let's say if there is a person who is a color blind and who have a hard time looking at colors, I mean, all they have to do is click and say patterns, and the same chart will convert into something where a color blind person would be able to read, right? Again, so you as a developer just provide them one chart, and then user would be able to customize in terms of how they want to view this information or how they want to see that. Let's say if I personally don't like this bar chart and I want to see what other options are available, all I can do is I can do a drop down, and here Cognos shows me the top recommended chart types which Cognos thinks are best. So for example, according to Cognos thinks that line chart would be the best, area chart would be second best, column chart would be third best, and so on and so forth, right? So these are basically some base recommendations. Let's say if I change this to a bar chart, the same information is available to me in form of bar chart. If I click again and say, okay, no, this time let's try line chart. So this is, I'm looking at the same information in line chart, right? Let's say I want to see what else is available, right? If I click on the same region, in this section I'm only getting top 5 choices, but if I click on more, Cognos shows me the whole bunch of different things, right? And not only that, it even gives me reason that recommended because this and this. If I click on area chart, it says recommended because of these things, right? For example, if I click on line chart, not only I have one option, I have many options, right? And again, if I click on all, there are other options available. So for example, I mean, each organization has different types of people, right? There are people who like graphical information, and there are people who like textual information. So for example, here in this case, if I click on a table, I'll be able to view this information, for example, in form of text. So for example, for Go Accessories in 2010, I had 21 sales reps working for me. In 2011, I had 27. In 2012, so looks like it's a constant growth, right? For Go America, we lost few, right? So again, I mean, depending on a person, whether sometimes people are more graphical information, sometimes people just like, okay, don't worry about showing me graphs, just give me the numbers and numbers only, I'll just do my own thing, right? So for those type of people, they don't have to rely on you or developers to give them the information, right? If you have provided them the information in form of a chart, they can convert it into textual form by themselves, right? So this is one of the biggest selling point of Cognos that you enable. So you will learn how to design the internal objects. So for example, you'll learn how to design this list, you'll learn how to design this chart, and then users would be able to drag and drop information. So for example, here I have a whole bunch of information available. So for example, I can go in and let's say, for example, if I go inside samples, model, workspace, not workspace, sorry. For example, if I go inside sales analysis and open this, I have a whole bunch of stuff available. So for example, if I drag and drop this chart, right, someone have built this chart, right? So you're gonna learn how to build this chart, and then people would be able to utilize that chart and then represent data based on their needs. So this is one tool, right, which we will look, or which is a selling point. So again, this is just a demo. Before I jump into another tool, any doubts, comments, questions? Okay, cool. So as far as different tools are concerned, so for example, if I click on Launch here at the top, if I click on Launch, the dashboard we were just looking was Workspace Advanced. Sorry, was Workspace. There is another tool called Workspace Advanced. What is Workspace Advanced? It's a tool which lets user do some ad hoc analysis. So for example, you could quickly want to see how much revenue I generated for the campaign I ran last month, right? What were my expenses related to that campaign? For example, if in the ER department of a hospital, we added few extra beds. How much more revenue I'm generating by those beds, right? So when I want to do some quick analysis, I would use Workspace Advanced. So again, Workspace Advanced is a tool which analysts use to do some runtime analysis, some ad hoc analysis. Query Studio and Analysis Studio, those are legacy tools, and those don't even ship now. So for example, if you buy Cognos today, you will not even get Query Studio and Analysis Studio, right? So these are two legacy tools, and Workspace Advanced basically replaced these two, right? Report Studio is the most important studio we will do in the class. Pretty much 90-95% of the time we will talk about of the reporting side, we will talk about Report Studio. In my opinion, if you do Report Studio, you will automatically learn Workspace Advanced and Workspace, right? So majority of our time we will do, we'll talk about Report Studio, right? Again, Event Studio is also a same tool as Query Studio and Analysis Studio. This is also considered a legacy tool, and this is not getting shipped in the new release, right? So the main tool we will do is Report Studio, Workspace Advanced, and Workspace in the class. We will also talk about a little bit of administration. Again, the goal for this training is not to make you an administrator, but at least we will teach you in terms of how you do deployments, how do you move content from one server to another, and so on and so forth, right? So as part of this whole training, we will talk about administration as well, that how do you create data sources, how do you export, how do you import, things like that, right? So let me quickly launch Report Studio. And for now, I'm just going to click on Go Sales Query. Again, in the class, when we start the session, we are going to talk about what is Go Sales Query and why did we click on that. But for now, I just want to quickly show you the capability of a tool, right? I'm going to click on Create New. There are a bunch of templates available to start with. But again, for example, if I start with a list, doesn't mean that I'm stuck with list. I can have chart on the same list, on the same report as well. If I start with a chart, doesn't mean that I can only have chart. I can add a list into the same report as well, right? When I start with a template, that just is a beginning, starting point, right? But again, I mean, you can have many objects on the same report. So for example, for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on list, press OK. And this is your main screen for Report Studio. I'm going to spend 2 minutes just talking about this overall screen we have. So for example, if we focus on this area, right? This area. Here, if you notice, we have 3 tabs. This one is called Source. This shows us everything which is available for us to use, right? The second tab we have is called Data Items. This is what we already have selected. So this is basically our data model, right? So for example, the package or the data model we will be using in the class is for a company which sells outdoor camping stuff, golf stuff, things like that, right? So for example, here the stuff is, for example, what are the products I sell? In what order method? What was the method of that order? Whether someone walked in with the order, whether someone ordered it online, whether someone called and placed an order, things like that, right? How many retailers do I have? Sales staff, right? How many branches do I have, right? If I look at my sales information, how much quantity have I sold? How much revenue I have generated? How much gross profit I had? Things like that, right? So this is everything which is available to me from that data source. Second tab is data items, and the third tab basically gives me information as to, for example, if I want to add a logo at the top, right? I want to show my, for example, if I'm building this this report for, let's say, Southwest Airlines, right? What I'll do is I'll just drag and drop image and I'll show a logo. For example, if I'm building this report for American Airlines, right? I would do that. If I'm building this report for Dell or Baylor Health or GameStop, or there are a million companies, right? I'd simply do that. If I want to display a text, I would drop in text item. If I want to just have a table, I'll simply have a table, right? So again, if I want to see what products do I offer, simply all I'm doing is I'm clicking on these arrows to open sections, right? So for example, I know that everything related to products is in this section, right? By the way, just to clarify, this Go Sales is for Go Sales Great Outdoors company only, right? The company name is Great Outdoors, so that's why it is Great Outdoors Sales. If we are working for, let's say, Bank of America, we will have a different package here. If we are working for Chase, then we will have a different package here. So depending on company, you'll have a different package, different everything, right? Within a company, you'll have many packages. So for example, if we talk about, let's say, retail sector, right? We will have package, for example, for inventory. So here we have inventory, we have product forecast, we have returns information, we have sales information. Right now, everything is in one package, but it might be several packages, right? If I want to see what products I sell, all I have to do is drag this product line. All I'm doing is I have selected product line, and I drop it inside my list, right? If I want to see product type next to it, all I do is drag product type next to my product line, right? If I run my report, I see that I have these product lines and I have these product types. If I would like to see, for example, how much revenue I have generated, all I do is I'm going to drag and drop revenue next to it. If I would like to see how much planned revenue I have generated, all I have to do is drag it next to it, and that's it. So for example, if I run this report now, I'll see that for personal accessories for binoculars, I generated $130 million in revenue, but my plan was $138 million in revenue, right? Same thing, for example, for eyewear, for personal accessories eyewear, we generated $867 million, but the plan was $871 million, right? Again, this is a very basic, simple report. But let's say I see that my product line shows many duplicates. So I have personal accessories here, I have personal accessories here, I have personal accessories here as well. So how do I remove duplicates or group data into similar product lines? I'm going to click on product line, and what I'll do is I'll click on this group ungroup button. As soon as I click on group ungroup button and run this report now, see the difference. So now I'm looking at everything related to camping equipment in this bucket, everything related to golf equipment in this bucket, right? So now all of a sudden my data has been categorized for me, right? For example, if I want to see the total revenue and total planned revenue by product line. So for example, if I run this report now, I see my revenue and my planned revenue for product type, but I don't know how much revenue I have generated for my product line, or my top product line. I mean, I can total them together manually, but why do that? Why do manual work when a tool can do that for you, right? So all I have to do is I want to show total for what? Revenue and planned revenue, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to select these two columns by pressing Control. So I have selected revenue. I am pressing Control key right now, and then clicking on planned revenue, right? Now these two columns are selected. All I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this summarize icon, and excuse me 1 second. Okay, so if I click on the summarize icon, if you have used Excel, you know how to summarize. If I click on the summarize icon and say total, I'll have a total line. So here I have a bunch of options available. I can do count, count distinct, average, minimum, maximum, things like that, right? So now if I run this report and show you the output, excuse me 1 second. So now not only I'm getting data for my product type, I'm also looking at my revenue for product line. Now, for example, when I run this report, I see my data that, for example, for camping equipment, sleeping bags, we made $309 million in revenue, but our actual target or our planned revenue was $333 million, right? So, for example, I mean, I can make out, I can do some math manually to see how much of my target I have achieved or how much have I missed. But in Cognos, that is also very easy. All I have to do is select revenue, Control select planned revenue, and then there is an option to insert calculation. If I click on insert calculation, Cognos provides me a bunch of standard options, right? Excuse me. So I can do revenue plus planned revenue. I can do revenue minus planned revenue and things like that. So here, one option I have is percent of revenue to planned revenue. If I click on this, it adds a calculation. Excuse me 1 second. Sorry about that. So if I run this report now, it shows me a calculation that, okay, for a cooking year, I have met 90% of my target. Here I have met 93%, 92%, 94%, and so on and so forth, right? So this is how easy the tool is, right? So this is one example, right? So for example, right now when I run this report, I view data for everything. So I view data for camping equipment, golf equipment, mountaineering equipment. Let's say if I only want to see data for camping equipment, right, or golf equipment, all I need to do is select product line and click on this filter icon, right? Again, this is the stuff here in Cognos is very simple. Again, I'm giving you some basic examples right now, but again, complex is not that complex, right? Multiples of basic things put in order becomes complex, right? So for example, if you want to do filter, All you do is select product line, click on filter, and here I'm going to click on create custom filter, right? This tool automatically knows what product lines are available, right? Again, you don't even have to type anything, right? You can simply say camping equipment and show me, for example, personal accessories, and then select these two values. Press OK, and now if I run this report, I get only these two. Let's say if I want to give this option to a user, right? That okay, now at runtime when I run this report, user should select which one to view. All I have to do is go here. I'm going to remove all filters and go and create a new filter. And this time all I'm going to do is create a condition, create a filter on product line, and prompt user for values. And I'm going to press OK. Now when I run this report, I get a pop-up or I get a question prompt where I can select, let's say this time I'm going to just see outdoor protection and press OK. I only get outdoor protection. If I run again and say, okay, show me golf equipment. Now I see golf equipment only. If I run again and say golf and personal accessories, press OK. Now I see both, right? So that's the functionality. That's what you can do with the tool. So you will learn how to do lists, you will learn how to do cross-tab, you will learn how to do charts and things like that, right? So far, any doubts, comments, questions?
Again, I have muted everyone. You can just type in or let me know. I can unmute you, or you can unmute from your side.
All right. So looks like there are no questions. So what I'm going to do is, again, I mean, this is all I wanted to show today, right? Again, in class, we will be going in much more detail as to how I have done this, what things are, what is a package, and all those things, right? So if you have any questions, doubts, comments, feel free to reach out to Ahmed or me, and then we'll try to help you out as much as possible. Again, class expectations are very well defined. You'll get each and every section covered. So for example, if we are talking about filters, we will talk about filters in and out, right? All the aspects of filter, plus you will get exercises, workshops, practices along with that, right? If we are talking about, let's say, calculations, we will do calculations in and out, and then you'll also be getting workshops and practice for related to that topic. So hopefully, I mean, our goal is that by end of this session, you would be, we want you to be at a mental stage where if we hand you a piece of paper and say that, okay, this is a bank account statement, or this is a balance sheet, or this is a profit and loss report, can you build that? You would be able to say, yes, I can build that, right? So that's our goal, and hopefully we'll get there. That's it, Ahmed.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah.
Kavisha?
Her husband.
I think we are good. No one has any questions. Looks like no one has any questions.
Perfect. All right. Cool. Thank you for your time.